Alright, welcome back, and in the last video I'd left you with the sketch. I'll show you three ways to exit a sketch. One is to click on this button at the top that highlights when I mouse over it. The other is to double click in the white space, and the third is to exit the sketch on the left hand side under the sketch tab. And there's a fourth way as well, but let's exit by double clicking. Okay, there we go. So we've exited the sketch. I know I've exited the sketch because that's not highlighted. There's no sign on the side, and then the sketch appears above the rollback bar. And just to show you, you can reactivate a sketch by just double clicking on it in the graphics area. There we go. And let's exit the sketch in the fourth way, which is to right click and select extruded boss or revolve boss, or you could go to features and select one of those commands. Not a problem either way, and then you'll be taken directly into the 3D translate command. Now this is normally at 10, so remember the way to increase this is you can either type something in here, so 34 for instance, hit enter, or you can scroll while you're in that box and that'll increase by increments of 10, or you can hold the Alt button down and scroll, and you'll be able to increase by increments of 1. And let's just make this a little bit larger because that seems to be doing, so let's just see, yes, that's better. And the other way you can do this is you can grab this button here and you can drag your face in or out to whatever you want. Now just have a look in the left hand side how that changes. So if you can't see what's happening on screen, just have a look to the left in the properties manager and you'll see what dimension you're getting exactly. You can even get to some sort of odd dimension. I'm not going to be able to manage it this time. 18, and then you can exit either by going to that button there or that button there, or hitting the enter button, or right clicking and hitting OK. Alright, just a quick reminder that you need to fill in your custom properties, your name, the project, the clock, and then choose the material. So if this were some other material, say it were a steel of some sort that you'd already chosen, apply, close. What you'd see is when you open this, it would appear in that material box and in the left hand side. So you can change it in different ways. From here you can say edit material. You can either hit that button or choose one of your favorites if it's in there, or you could say manage favorites. I'm going to select this one here. I'm going to scroll down to woods at the bottom and I'm going to select cedar and apply, and then just close this box. So there we go. Alright, I actually don't want this anymore, so I'm going to delete it. So select your feature either on screen or in the feature manager and right click and then say delete. Now you should get this dialog box. If you don't want the sketch, like that sketch, I want to delete it, just click in delete absorb features, say yes, it'll delete everything. Alright, so let's start with the clock. So we're going to start in the front view. Please, anytime you're constructing anything in which you would normally view this from the front, choose the front view. If you're normally viewing it from the top, choose the top view. You'll see later on why, but that's why they're called front, top and right, because they're related to actual views that you would use in real life. So here I am in a sketch. I know that because that button is available, that button's available, the sketch is below the rollback bar. I'm going to right click and activate one of my gestures and get this center circle, and then I'm just going to drag out, and instead of clicking I'm going to type something in so that I get a size, right? So that's the size. Great. The problem with this is it hasn't turned black. The reason it hasn't turned black is because it has no position. I can drag it around, okay, anywhere I want, and it's not related to this center point, and it needs to be. So the way you do this, if you wanted this to be a command, I'm activating my command by, let's just escape, by right clicking and dragging, holding the button down and clicking on that one there. I'm going to click on the origin, click on the center, and then you can see the dimension floats around. It can either go, that is, what is that called, aligned to, or horizontal, horizontal or vertical. So you're going to choose these two mostly. There are very few times when you can use the aligned dimension, and then you can type something in here if you want. And then I need to do it again, so this should activate again. There we go. I actually did it. I'm amazed. Right, 12. Right, and then these are, as always, they have a button that you can adjust this if you want. But at this point, that button is only on the left-hand side because the right dimension line is connected to the origin, so it's locked in. Same with this one, the upright one. There's only a top handle. Right, so that's how I can, now I can't move this around. I can drag it, I can do what I want with it. I shouldn't be able to drag this around if you've got the right settings. But I don't want that there. Normally when you start something like this is your primary sketch, you want to locate it on the origin. So I can just drag this around, get it to snap on the origin. That turns black. It turns black because its position is at 0, 0. So there's no point in putting a dimension in there. Have a look on the left-hand side. Control vertex parameters. X is 0, Y is 0. Okay, I mean, I could, let's just see if this will work for, no, it's not going to do it because it's locked in. It's coincident at the moment. You can see that little coincident item there. Let's drag that out the way. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want this to be offset. So I'm going to either right-click, there's offset, or I can go to the sketch entities and say offset entities, or I can right-click drag and activate this one here. Right, it's at 10 millimeters. It says select chain. There isn't a chain. There's only one part, but it's fine. So the moment I select the sketch, you'll see that I can either go inside or outside of the sketch. So if I select outside, that's what happens. So let's just backtrack. Do that again. Okay, click on that line. And if I just move my mouse inside or outside of the circle, you can see which side it's going to place the duplicate offset line. So that's inside. And in this case, I want this to change. So I'm just going to drag it down. Let's make it 7 or 8, something like that. Right. And let's just get that out the way. Okay, now the interesting bit. So I can draw a line and I can get it to snap to this line, this circle. I just mouse over the circle and it activates. There are 4 quads. That's the 0 quad, that's 90 degrees, 180, 270, 360. I can snap to one of those. So right now, that line will stay connected to that quad point. Because if I click on these two, or on that point, it should show you that it is connected. It is coincident. Coincident means in the same place, and that point is horizontal to the origin. Right, so that's one way of doing it. Easier way to do this, just hit the S button. Right, now if I activate on this line without touching one of these, it's most likely going to connect to that circle as a tangent. In this case, it didn't. It actually connected, as you can see, just coincident. So I can click anywhere I want. Okay, and the 2 things I can do, I can either delete this or I could click on the line, hold the control button down, click on the circle, wait for the context menu to arrive and say make tangent. Okay, what that means is that if I drag this end out, the line will stay tangent to that line, to that circle, for as long as that relation is active. Let's just illustrate how that tangency works, right? So there's a construction line which is connected to the center, and then it's connected to this one. It's coincident. and it's perpendicular. So if I drag this around, you'll see that that construction line follows it, and that these two here are perpendicular at all points, at all times. So that's what tangency means, is that you've got a line meeting an arc, a regular circle, or a fillet radius at a tangent, and it stays at a tangent. Well, that's what it means. That's tangency. Tangent means at 90 degrees to the diameter or the radius line. Right, I don't need that. What I want this to be horizontal, so let's click on that and say horizontal, and let's draw another line, and this time I can either connect to this line like that. Okay, actually let's put the tangency line in, so let's just connect these two. You'll see this line is still blue, but if I click on that line and hold the control button or the shift button down, you'll see in the left hand side it says tangent. The other way to find out what your relations are doing, not your cousins, your relations in the drawing, is to click on any element or the whole drawing, and it'll tell you. So you have to click on the whole sketch or part of the sketch. You can't, like this one here won't show you, but that one will, as long as I click inside the sketch. So there's a tangency relation and a coincident relation. Right. So the problem with this point here is it's not properly defined. The two ways of doing that, first is to give it an angle. Click on that line, click on this line, and type in what you want, and you'll see it goes black. Okay, the other ways of doing tangent dimensions I'm not going to show you right now, but the second way is probably more useful in this case, is to go from the origin to this point horizontally, and so now I can control the total width of this item. I think that's as far as we've gone as far as the sketch goes in the last exercise. So I'm going to exit this by double clicking it, and then to show you something about the sketch before I do the extrude boss. I haven't selected this beforehand, but I could select it and say extrude boss. What that's going to do is going to give me a thin feature because I've only selected a part of the line. So you need to deselect the thin feature. It seems to have gone back. Let's deselect that. The other way of doing this is to right click and say extrude boss, and then you're going to be asked which sketch on this page, because you might have many, do you want to use? And so I want to use that one, right? And what this does is it defaults to choosing one, or whichever one you selected, of the contours that you've sketched. So have a look at the bottom under the Boss Extrude Properties Manager. Inside this blue box, once I activate it, I can choose other parts of the sketch and deselect certain parts. So at the moment, I'm going to get sort of a ring-shaped item. Okay, and I can just go back in here and say, no, that's not really what I want. I can just select that middle bit. Okay, and then this is being extruded 10 millimeters. So there are a few ways that I can change this. Let's just see where the sketch is. So let's just drop down to see the sketch. So the sketch is on that plane. So I want to move this face out. And I'm just going to drag this item using that box to about 70. There we go. Right, then to put the fillet in, you can select an edge, or you can go to the top and you can say at the top here, where is it? Somewhere around here. I don't use it. Fillet. There's the fillet command. You can select an edge, and you can select as many items as you want. So that's a face and a fillet at the same time. Sorry, an edge and a face at the same time. Not really a good idea. I'll show you why later, but at the moment we're going to have that edge. And again, I can scroll to get this to increase. I can alt scroll to get it decrease or increase by increments. I can type inside this box over here and hit enter. So there are multiple ways of doing this. Once I've finished that, by the way, I'm rotating here by holding the middle button down, and that has another trick to it, which is, I'm going to show you now. So if you hold the mouse button down, and you hold the shift button down, sorry, you hold the shift button down first and then hold the mouse button down, you can zoom in and out very fast. And if you hold the control button down and then the middle button down, you can pan your view, so you can move it around. Right, I'm going to leave it at this point for this video, and then we'll do the details later. So thanks for watching. Cheers.